Hi, my name's Sam. This is Collective Frequency, and today I'll be talking about holistic healing. And yeah, are we just gonna go around?
Yeah. What do you want us to say?
I guess what everyone knows about holistic healing and their favorite simple thing in life.
Oh, me? Okay. My name is Rome. I don't think I really know that much about holistic healing, I guess. And I don't know, I just enjoy, or the simple thing I enjoy is just like having a meal with a friend or something. Yeah.
Kathy. I want to learn more from what I know. I do enjoy, like some of the light techniques that help people, acupuncture, acupressure, massage. And I would like to learn more about integrating more food. So that's about it.
Your favorite thing.
I'm Caroline. I have been on a journey to understand holistic and healing since I was very young, for sure. So there's a lot to know.
Mm-hmm.
I do body work and massage and energy work. And people talk to me. I get messages and such. But I'm in a holistic nutritional practitioner's program right now and learning all about the food and the gut. Arjuna's class, and all the breathing, and so I'm excited to know what you have to teach us. Please give us more. What do I like? I like green, for sure. And message. I enjoy the outdoors. Very much so.
Love switch. What do you like next?
What's holistic? Do you know anything holistic?
Well, my name is Anthony, and how's everybody doing tonight? And I should know a thing or two about holistic. I'm practicing stuff that involves a lot of healing energy. I think it's all like healing energy, and I got that part down, but there's a lot more that I don't know about, so that's why I'm here to learn some more about it. Oh, and I like sunny days, and sunsets, and sunrises, and a beautiful wife. No, we don't have a beach anymore. They took Tingley Beach away, so.
It's not really tingly.
So, thank you.
And I'm Tammy, and holistic healing. I've had many different partners that have taught me about holistic healing, like Ayurveda and just eating healthy, and then you forget, and then you start eating more shit, and then you start taking colloidal silver so you don't get sick or sick. So there's, holistic healing, it's a whole entirety of food and herbs and healing stuff. And what do I like? I like collective frequency. Yay!
Hi, I'm Tiffany, and I have known about holistic healing pretty much my whole life. My mom was a nurse, and a lot of the people that hung around our house did the massages and the sweat lodges and the aromatherapy and the foods. Now that's something I never really got into. I learned a lot about food from my grandma and grandpa who cooked greasy stuff. But I do know that it takes the whole picture. So it's not just the food you intake, it's not just the colloidal silver that you intake, it's not just the acupuncture that you put on the outside of your body, but it's also the way you think and the people that you have around you and like the whole body, the emotions and stuff for me. So there's a lot to know. Like,
Yeah.
So thank you for taking this on. I'm really excited to hear more and learn more.
Yeah, I mean, definitely things like acupuncture, like massage, that's not my area of expertise. But when I think of holistic healing, I always think of like mind body things in particular, because I feel like people tend to separate them a lot. You know, you go to the doctor for physical things, you go to a therapist for your mind kind of thing. And that's kind of why I like holistic healing, because it kind of just looks at the root and what could be, I guess, used to cure that in a way, instead of just trying to mitigate a symptom. So, I mean, that's pretty much what I would define it as, because, you know, with allopathic medicine, it just tries to just get rid of symptoms without knowing what else is going on as a person, which is kind of why I like Ayurveda and stuff, because it kind of looks at people's different constitutions and tries to tailor things specific to them. Just as an example, if you're like really dry skinned, or you have really oily skin kind of thing, or you run really hot, you run really cold, and that kind of thing, you can kind of tailor the herbal medicines that you use. But my biggest thing is really food. I'm a foodie, and I really like healing through food, because I feel like if your diet's right, you usually don't need medicine. And obviously, people that know me know I'm a really big advocate for plant-based foods in general, because I feel like they're just the most healing things we can use. Actually, an interesting thing I like to tell a lot of people about is I used to live with this woman who could see auras, and she told me that she used to eat meat, and when she ate meat, she actually couldn't see auras as clearly, so they would get kind of fuzzy. And she went vegetarian, and they were a lot brighter and a lot clearer, which I thought was really interesting, and that just kind of solidified it for me, and I thought it was really cool. And yeah, so basically just looking at root causes instead of just the symptoms that you're seeing on the outside. That's kind of just how I define it in general. I kind of went off topic a little bit, but I have a lot to say on it in general. So for me, nutrition is like kind of the first step, and then it just kind of branches off into all these different things. So with nutrition, I always like to talk about like the gut-brain connection, because there's so much science that's come out about it, about how pretty much your gut rules your mind in a way, and vice versa. You know, kind of like
Hangry.
yeah, like that. And like if you're like me and you have chronic anxiety, you know, that can affect your digestion. So if you have digestive issues, you're more likely to have some kind of issue as well, vice versa. And there's actually, I think it's called the enteric system that it travels along. And yeah, so like the microbiome that's going on, which is why probiotics have actually come out, that you can actually potentially at least mitigate or cure depression with probiotics, because a lot of times it's something going on in your gut, which is really interesting. Yeah, so kind of branching off of that, I also like to bring up like the raw foodism movement, which I really support. Not everyone can do it. I can't do it completely, because it's kind of a part of nutrition. And I like to talk about it specifically because it really incorporates like all the living foods, and they're really big advocates for living foods, specifically because of the energy in them. Because, you know, when you're, you know, and this is not a judgment on anyone that eats meat, but when you're eating meat, it's kind of like dead weight in a bit. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because like if you've ever seen like Kirlian camera like pictures, you can see like the energy coming off of different things. And I've actually seen it like a piece of meat like versus like an apple. There's so much energy coming off of apples and very little coming off from the meat. So I feel like if you want to feel like energized and happy and things like that, we have to eat living foods. So yeah, that's part of it.
Are you saying our meat should be alive when we eat it?
No, wouldn't recommend that. Yeah, and well, I mean, I feel like if you at least limit it, then it's fine, and it can be healthy for some people. But I know for me personally, it just doesn't work with my body, and I just listen to what my body has to say.
How long have you been vegetarian?
Well, I went vegetarian about 11 years ago, and then 6 years after that, I went completely vegan. And I feel like it's actually really like transformed the way that I interact with nature too, and the way I connect with it. Because I feel like I used to feel so separate from it. I feel like the more you incorporate those kinds of foods into your system, the more connected you just start feeling. Because when I first went vegetarian, I didn't really feel much, to be honest. Even though I knew I didn't want to hurt animals, I didn't want to kill animals to eat, I didn't really feel much towards them. But I feel like I've kind of become more empathetic towards like animals and plants. I even feel bad for eating plants sometimes, to be honest. So I'm like, oh, they're living, you know, they want to live like everything else does. But one thing I've actually learned, I read through this book called Plant Spirit Medicine that teaches you a lot about just kind of, I want to say almost the thinking habits of plants, but not quite. And I think one of them was really interesting because it said something like how when you like harvest like fruits or vegetables from plants in like a loving way and not just like, you know, agricultural type machine sort of way, they actually really enjoy that connection that you have with them. And it's, even if you're having to root up the plant, it's just it's more holistic in that way. Oh, okay.
A little bit, but you know, groovy at least. Putting a lot of aggravation. All that good shit that we're doing. So we doing the short chat. We're leaving. I'm remembering names a little bit. We don't come with like scratching sniffs. Oh my God, I can see better today. How you doing? You don't. Okay. Open this.
Hey.
Open this.
Nice to see you.
It's still recording. It's still recording.
That's okay.
My sincere apologies. I didn't know I went into your area. Do you want to consider it?
No worries.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were. What do you call it? Recording.
Okay, I lost my train of thought, but that's okay.
We were talking about plants and the difference in harvesting, and then you were talking about the plant spirit medicine books that you were reading, and how that's your journey has connected you to that, but also the way we harvest things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I kind of like to incorporate, obviously holistic means the spiritual aspect too, so that's kind of why I like to mention that part. It's just part of my journey personally. Herbalism has kind of done that too, because I feel like it's easy to just walk by plants and you don't really even see them or notice them. Since I started like the journey on herbalism, I've started like kind of seeing them popping out at me and almost like reaching out to me, wanting me to connect with them, which has been really interesting. Kind of like lavender specifically has done that, where I feel like it's just trying to give me messages to work with it, and it's just really interesting. But while we're on that topic of herbalism, I feel like, again, it's just part of holistic healing, but herbalism itself is also kind of just, even though it's just one thing, it's also very holistic because, you know, it seeks to treat the actual root cause while also mitigating symptoms, because, you know, people aren't, if you're not mitigating their symptoms, they're not really likely to want to take what you have because they don't feel it working. And it's actually something related to alchemy is spagyrics. It's a type of herbal tincture, and it's actually like the whole plant spirit in a tincture. So it's a lot more effective than regular tinctures are, but I haven't learned how to do it. But it's really interesting because it just works with all of your systems, not just what that plant specifically is supposed to work with. So it's just really interesting how it kind of works with you. It's very interesting.
More like a mind, body, spirit concept.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I feel I need to work with plants more than I have, but yeah, they've definitely worked with me regardless of me doing anything, honestly. If you're using that type of medicine, it just happens naturally, I feel like, especially when you've been doing it for years and years and years. Yeah.
Are you in Ayurvedic school? You mentioned Ayurveda.
I was about to start school for Ayurveda, but I had to postpone it, sadly. So I'm going to be starting next year. So I'm hoping when I get more into that, I can maybe teach something on Ayurveda. I really like Ayurveda, though. It is. I have a book on it that I've read through a lot, and I was actually following like an Ayurvedic diet for a while for my specific constitution, and it felt really good. Because even though I'm a small person, I feel like I kind of follow the Kapha dosha, where it's kind of technically for more large people, but like, yeah, but like, they say that like you tend to be more than, just one dosha, like you might be like Pitta, Kapha, or like Vata. Yeah.
There's 1, 2, and 3, and it's all in how you balance the dishes. I had a friend that did Ayurvedic school, and then my family and I were her case studies. So she taught me a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of, so far what I've noticed is I feel like I'm on the two opposite spectrums.
You're Pitta, aren't you?
I feel like I'm just like the two opposites. Because I feel like my metabolism's really slow, but I'm also a very anxious person. So I'm kind of on the two opposite spectrums, which is really hard to balance. So it's interesting. But I feel like for me personally, I feel like grounding, but like light foods are what I usually need. So like things like lentils and like beans and vegetables and fruit are kind of what keep me stabilized. I've noticed if I have like, let's just say like only like fruits and vegetables, I'm like really anxious and jittery, and I just like can't stabilize my mind. So I kind of balance it with the heavier plant foods. And same thing, I also can't eat very heavy, or I just feel very foggy mentally. So it really just depends on your constitution as far as Ayurveda goes. But I feel like it translates into pretty much anything since everybody's different. And that's kind of why I like holistic healing too, is because it's not where you have depression, so this should work for you, but it looks at kind of what you're made of and gives you something based on your specific, constitution. And, do you run hot, do you run cold, or dry, or oily, and things like that. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
What inspired you to go into holistic medicine?
Honestly, going vegetarian initially is what started it, because back then I was maybe 14 or 15, and I just had a passion for nutrition. And back then I was also really into exercising, and I just taught myself a lot about nutrition in general. And then it slowly just transitioned to, veganism, and then just herbalism, and just meditation and holistic stuff as I started the spiritual aspect of it. So it's been a pretty cool journey. It's just kind of evolved over time. Yeah.
Any cool moments?
I mean, I've had a lot of them, but I don't know if it's specific to that. I don't really know. I guess it would depend on what a cool moment would be defined as.
Anything cool?
As far as the holistic thing, I don't know if there's anything in particular that stands out. But it's just been a really interesting journey. It's kind of funny now, because now that I'm like this, when I walk into Walmart, for example, it's torture for me. I see people buying all of these things on the shelves, and I really try not to judge, truthfully. But I'm just oh my God, it's just cancer, on all of the shelves. It's so hard to watch people it's hard to watch people doing that because, like, I'm just like, oh my God, you're eating heart disease or something. Like, it just drives me nuts. But I kind of have to try to tune it out because it's just all over the place. It's just like sickness promoted everywhere, and it just drives me nuts.
I taught my kid when he was like 4. And we were gluten free for a long time, and we went to my brother's wedding when we were living in the house, and we came back. And it was so funny, the wedding was like, they were serving food, and he goes, does that have soy in it? No, I can't do that. Does that have wheat in it? I'm gluten free. Totally dairy, no, I'm lactose intolerant. He was telling everybody this at the age of 4, and they were like,
That's funny.
It'd be cool for someone to actually make a sign with what you fucking can eat. Right? Not this is what you are eating.
Whole Foods,
At a
worked
get
at Whole
together.
Foods. It didn't matter how much you put out, how much you gave them, how much information, they would still, what can I eat? And this is what I can't eat, and this is what I can eat. And, oh gosh, it used to
You're like-
drive us crazy. But yeah,
Don't
you
let me
can
cook.
Yeah, no, yeah. I would have to at some point say, depending how badly you are reactive to any of this, I would say you probably should do your own food. And they would look at me and I said, really, if you're that reactive to all of these things that you ingest that you think are messing with your system, then you really should learn how to do it for yourself. Because if you're waiting for somebody to come do it, it's not always going to happen. You know that. It was more hunting and pecking with you too when you found out, well, this didn't work. If I ate that, that didn't work. But if I ate this with this, it did work. You know, it just is like you just learn how to do it on your
I think
own.
it's teaching people how to listen to their body. Kids do that when you're young. My son ate bananas and seen me for a whole year, and I showed him a banana, and I was like, okay, you've had enough bananas.
Aww.
You know, in Texas, and even now when I go into if I go to produce, I'll sniff things, and people will look at me, and then they'll slowly pick up, like strawberries is one of mine, slowly pick them up, and they'll be like, and I'm like, do you know why I'm sniffing the fruit? Do you know why? Because your nose doesn't lie. Like you have like, training. So in your experience, did you notice, like, as you changed your body, could you sense more of like, hey, you know, I've had enough spinach, I think I want asparagus?
I feel like that's true, but the only thing with being a foodie is I feel like I had almost trained myself not to listen to my body for a long time. I feel like I've gotten a lot better about it, but I used to overeat a lot because I feel like with my family in general, they're all pretty much overweight and they all eat a lot. So I kind of had that like conditioning to still do that, but I did it with healthy food. So I was kind of like a healthy fat kid in a way. I wasn't fat, but like I remember it's kind of...
Eating is stress eating. It doesn't matter what you're eating.
That's true too. Yeah, I used to eat like thousands of calories worth of dates in a day, and my body cannot handle that. Dates.
I was like, hello.
That's like.
How would you eat so many in a day? By the way, thank you so very much, and my apologies. for
Oh, that's
causing
okay.
you midriff.
I mean, back then, I mean, to be fair,
Real regular though, huh?
well, somewhat.
Good.
So my mom was a vegetarian growing up.
I went to
She
Portland,
made us
Oregon,
eat
and ate
occasionally.
strawberries.
My dad's house was different. You can overeat healthy food. It's energy. If you don't burn it, it will show up in places.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely gained weight, like eating so many dates. I think I went from maybe like 110 to almost 130. Not strictly from dates, but just overeating healthy foods, pretty much, just overeating
So is
calories.
that the most dates you ever had in your life?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry.
That was
You're
cool.
like candy of.
Yeah, it's back when I lived in California. Yeah, because back then I had never tried like a fresh date before. And I lived in California, I just discovered them, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like candy. I'm gonna eat this all the time, and it's healthy, right?
Mine too. How about that?
And then mascarpone cheese is like to die.
Oh yeah, one thing I actually my aunt taught me was stuffing dates with like peanut butter and then
Oh.
rolling them in chocolate and freezing them. that was sinful, but like I use like a healthier chocolate though, to be fair.
Having rolled up, is it?
Yeah.
I don't like, I'm not
Yeah.
a big peanut butter fan. What I would probably do is put sunflower butter or almond butter.
Those are good too.
Almond butter.
Well, sunflower butter is really high in
No,
vitamin
it's
E
bad.
and iron.
I
For you?
tried.
Oh, it doesn't work for you.
No, I don't like it. I was trying it. And
What
it's
kind did you, let's talk later. So, my son one time, I've always eaten really healthy, he had cloth diapers, the fancy kind, right? I swear his teacher in his classroom hated me, but anyways, one time he got into a bag of prunes in the refrigerator, and he was like almost 3, he was like, Mom, I ate them all. I'm like, oh shit. Literally, like he ate almost the whole bag, like candy. And I thought, well, at least he ate that. And not like a handful of like candy or something. But
Yeah, pretty much too much of anything can be a bad thing.
it's true.
What was your biggest shed of your skin? And what was the purpose of the dietary or growth?
Like do you mean like the journey?
Well, I call it many different parts of a personality in terms of life of journey. I mean, we are one person through a vessel.
Hmm.
This is our skeletal or cranial structural memory. You have a left and right hemisphere of the head, corpuscle. When it's struck by any types of elements of Mother Earth or traumas, however way you get to your shape of a regiment, I guess you could say, or intake, injustice. What do you call it? Intake? Thanks. What was the most, your arm, and what was the biggest size you got to, and what is your currency?
As far as like weight? Is that what you
Yeah.
mean? Okay.
She went around the whole.
I was just kind of making sure.
That was the most eloquent I've ever heard you speak. That was very beautiful. You were very articulate. You gave the whole circle of the idea. What was the transformation your body took as you started eating healthier, and did your weight change?
Okay.
There.
It's more direct, but it's okay. To be fair, I don't think I've ever been overweight, but when I was younger, I was definitely a little chunkier because back then, my family just let me eat whatever I wanted, and as a kid, I did. Like, I ate ice cream and Lunchables all day, like every day. I would drink like 5 sodas a day. Yeah.
Did you feel significantly different as you got older and became more aware and you ate different?
I feel like the biggest change was my stomach because I used to have daily stomach aches every single day when I woke up. And the first thing I ate, especially in the morning, would just always kill me, no matter what. If I ate or if I didn't, I was always in pain. And yeah, I noticed when I went vegetarian, that completely stopped. So that's how I knew for sure that I was doing the right thing. And I don't know what got me to like completely transition like off of all that stuff, but
Sounds like you were just listening.
yeah. I feel like I was just intuitively guided to it, and my family, they would just kind of do their own thing, and so from the age of like 13 or so, I just started making all my own food. And they would buy it, I would make it, and
That's really cool. So has anybody in your family shifted seeing the things that you do now in your body?
I wish, honestly.
I would have to say, from my point of view, in cooks in general, we're terrible about vegetarians and vegans.
You get
I
mad at
learned,
kill that next
I do know everything. I have a cook for vegans, because we used to do that all the time, because we would do what they would call the whole food menus for the new year and stuff. So every year we would start a new kind of thing where it was whatever the new thing out there about whatever nutrition thing that they were coming out. So I know tons of stuff, but to get me to really say I'm one of those people, because it's very hard to cook for one person. very hard to cook vegetarian for one person because there's a lot of involved
No, never sure.
production things. Well, it all depends on what you want to eat.
I love you. I'm just razzing you.
I don't know what
But
it
the
is.
dish that I made the other night, that literally took
No.
20 minutes.
Oh, I know that, but you sit there and eat that for a whole week.
So I do. I put all kinds, I mix it and throw it in things. I get it, okay.
I know.
It is.
So it is, it's really difficult to do it, unless you got more than one people, and then it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely helps having him around because like I don't like making food just for me. And I feel like when I first went vegetarian, I would eat like still like a lot of frozen meals. I'd get a lot of frozen like vegetarian chicken nuggets and like the Amy's meals and
I
stuff.
was just gonna say Amy's, right?
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to have a more holistic approach to their life, what would you direct them to do first?
I mean, because it's my approach, I always start with diet because I have people ask me for advice a lot. Like, you know, like I've had people like say, hey, I have like arthritis, like what should I do? I say, okay, well, what do you eat? And that's usually the first thing that's always off. Like they're just like, oh, well, you know, I don't really eat that well. I'm like, there you go. It's causing inflammation in the body. And plant foods, you know, bring that back down to like homeostasis to where you probably won't even need medicine. But I know just to go off of that, turmeric is definitely the most powerful spice combined with black pepper. It's like the most powerful thing you could probably take for inflammation in the body, but there's so many things,
The
really.
only thing you have to be careful about is that people are on certain medications.
Yeah,
Because
can
it
interact.
interact with blood pressure medication, and it can also interact with health and blood clot and stuff like that. So I always ask people, like, are you on any medications?
Yeah, most
And if I
definitely.
don't even know them, I say, you should look up first before you take turmeric, but more than likely that could be the best goal.
But there's
Yeah.
a very minimum of a percentage of the holistic or origins of different types of holistic to natural remedies. A lot of people go right away because that's what they are engineered for. The synthetics of to imbalance different origins. That's why we're going through this crisis right now.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, and people are really starting to look and point fingers at each other. It's like Mary Poppins, you know. I have to look at now. I shared something up on the Mesa as a wild Mustang. I was really up there angry and cussing a little bit of internal burn. Unfortunately, we have that flame and frame of our time of threshold. But if you hold that, it is a sword to your soul. You ignite with all of us as origins, regions rotating on Mother Earth. When we plant something and we nurture the person that has been processed with any type of alphabet, of any kind of cancer, it's so terrible to see people to lose their shit, their family, the rails, the expressions, the moments, the energy that took. For any person, they fall to their asshole or a wheel of fortune in a wheelchair. Those people were born that way. Okay? They're born there that way for gods and our saints, for really to look at the souls that say, God, thank you for occupying the same space and place. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I
So-
hope
so,
we see.
So it like in your generation of people, how conscious is everybody now on holistic eating and like, do you see a difference
Oh, yeah.
between say,
Oh, yeah.
our generation and
Yeah.
your generation?
I feel like I see way more people my age that are like vegan and vegetarian and doing a lot more alternative stuff, which makes me really hopeful for the future, honestly.
Sure.
Explain that to me, vegetarian and vegan.
So the difference would be is like vegetarians, depending on the type of vegetarian, is they don't eat meat or seafood, but they'll still eat like dairy and eggs.
And then vegan is what?
So no animal products at all.
Not even honey.
Not even honey, yeah.
Anything with eyes other than potatoes.
Not even shampoo that has any
Yep.
animal byproduct at all.
Yeah, so I feel like it just makes you a lot more conscious of what you're using in general. Since you try to be, yeah, like more conscious of what you use, like things that don't test on animals and things like that. So,
You
yeah.
know, there's all kinds of labels out there that say, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, and that, and whatever. you know, I'm just a human fucking being, you know. And
I feel that,
if I'm
yeah.
gonna eat that, I'll eat that. If I'm not, then, you know, that's cool. I mean, your generation is really, really conscious, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's teaching us how to take care of our vessels because we fucked it up so bad, you know. And I'm glad you're here teaching that and sharing with us what because I don't know any of this. You know, I come from the reservation. So does Kathy too. She's from the reservation. We eat fucking fried bread,
They've lost their
potatoes.
whole native everything.
I've
Native
heard.
donuts, you know, they come from a native, so they're good to eat anyway. They're native
That's
donuts.
funny.
Yeah, if you go for a feast, you're like, oh
Oh,
shit.
if you go to the feast, you're doomed. You know?
You are doomed. You're like, oh, I can't have that.
Yes, today is today.
Colonialism has killed the Indian.
Yep, no, agreed.
Yeah.
I agree. It's sad to see.
Because
Can we have a show of
it's
hands?
just, they've
So-
taken everything that could have been,
What's
taken.
I use them
And
as.
Ayurveda, what is that?
Oh, it's pretty much the most, well, at least the most ancient recorded healing system. It dates back over 5,000 years from India. And it's pretty much incorporating everything we're talking about. They really look at the mind-body connection and specifically what you're doing physically and nutritionally. They really seek to heal from your diet, which is why they have, like, you know, the different doshas and the different constitutions.
Do they still do where they take the 2 pulses?
Yes.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say.
The pulse
That's how you
diagnosis, yeah, I haven't learned that just yet, but I know about it and I've read about it. That's still a thing.
That's how they decide that, okay, this side is more dosha, this side is well, maybe not.
It's an hour and a half
Yeah.
session with an Ayurveda practitioner, and we look at stuff.
They ask you about.
So it's like
Your bowel movements,
ingesting
your-
medicine in a different.
And it's like
Yeah.
bitters, like sweets, like
Mhm.
it's like just different. It goes according to like the elements.
Mm-hmm.
Does
And
a
You
city
should do
has
a
a
tanning
dosha.
pinata wrap.
We have different times in our life that we have doshas. Our places to live have doshas.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
We-
really.
Yeah, we do. Thank you for letting us expand on your class.
No problem.
You're doing an excellent
So
job.
what's your vision by doing this education about holistic healing? What is your vision for the future of the human race, the human, we're not gonna call it race, because we're not racing each other, but for the humans that are in the 5th dimension, that we're going into this 5th dimension?
I mean, I feel like I really just want to help spread the information to just raise consciousness, because I feel like you don't know until you know, really, and a lot of people just still don't know about these types of things, and I feel like I really envision like a world where we're a lot more conscious of what we're doing, and maybe we eat more locally, more holistically and plant-based, and we grow our own things, we trade with each other kind of thing. And I feel like I can see it happening for sure. It's just a matter of just kind of getting the information out there, which is why I talk about it so much on my Facebook page, because I have a fairly decent platform. So that's what I like to use it for, to help like educate people on just how to be healthy. Because
So
yeah.
with me and him, it's almost like a cult when people be on this page because you're not vegan. And this has been happening a lot, so then it distracts people from
Learning.
following and learning
Mhm.
this stuff, because it's like, no, we don't like you because you eat meat. You know what I mean? Or you eat dairy or da 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 da. And it's like a whole cult movement.
Yeah.
And like, how do you think that we can kind of shift that from, so that way people can ease in? It's the same thing with the yogis too. It's the same shit, because like you go into a yoga class and you're so intimidated. I go into a yoga class, I'm intimidated. I'm not going to, I have a front butt. I'm not going to do the things that they do. You know what I mean? So that intimidated me a lot. It wasn't, I felt like I was being judged the whole time. But this is happening amongst all these communities as well. How can we change this, and how can we nurture people into learning more about themselves and not being so judgmental of each other.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that a lot too, and I feel like for me, I just have to remember that, I used to be in that position, and without understanding that, how can you ever get anybody to really transition? And I've seen that a lot, and I feel like at least people have told me that I've inspired them to go vegetarian or vegan, is because of the approach that I have, which is just leading by example. Like, I don't demonize people for what they do, I just show them the benefits. And say like, hey, look at this cool vegan food, it's really good, or this has this health benefit. So I just like to share things, and that's really all I do. I feel like people just get inspired by it, is what I've noticed so far, at least. Huh?
Do you have a cooking show on wheels or something?
No. I just share a lot on my Facebook page.
On their Facebook and phone. Nice.
Yeah.
Have you told your story about how you've come from one side to the other on Facebook?
I feel like, yeah, I definitely have. I feel like I do that a lot with both veganism and just like mental health a lot, because I talk a lot about mental health and where I've come from in transition, because it ties right into your diet, obviously. Because No. So when I was younger, basically, they tried to get me to take medication, but back then I feel like I just intuitively knew I just didn't want to. I feel like, why would I take something to make me a different person? Like, that just didn't make sense to me. And I didn't really know what I was doing back then, but I feel like now it makes sense that I started just exercising a lot, changing my diet. I feel like somewhere inside I just intuitively knew what I needed to do. I just didn't know it consciously back then. But yeah, so I just kind of stick with the herbal route. And it doesn't mean it makes things disappear. Like anxiety, I still have chronic anxiety, but I feel like it really helps manage it and makes it easier to deal with, along with, meditation and breath work and all of that. But yeah. One thing I actually, that I haven't done, but I can. One thing I actually wanted to mention with the breathing thing that I recently learned, of course, breath work is really important, as we all know, to calm yourself and ground yourself and all those other things. But from a scientific perspective, because I have to put the logic in there for my brain, whenever we breathe in and we breathe out, we're activating the vagus nerve, that goes from here all the way back and down. And when we breathe in, we're activating it. And when we breathe out, that's when the parasympathetic nervous system slows everything down. And I've noticed it really helps anxiety. When I do breath work like that, when you accentuate the long out breaths. So it's kind of cool because you can see all the scientific aspects of it. So it's not just all this spiritual stuff a lot of people aren't into. So I kind of like to tie in the scientific part to kind of get people to listen, because not everybody's on that path yet. But everyone knows, if it's scientific, it must be real or something. So I kind of like to tie that in.
How do you feel that holistic ties into spirituality? Because now we're going into this new world, and everything really cannot be separated from spirituality. How do we look at this from a spiritual perspective?
As far as just holistic healing in general?
Whatever the genre.
It just incorporates so much. I feel like it's hard to have it without the spiritual element, in my opinion, but I feel like it depends on your perspective, because you have Reiki and the acupuncture, and it's moving energies in your body. And I feel like you just can't have one without the other, because in order to kind of center yourself, yeah, you have to be grounded, but you have to balance the energies too. So I feel like it just makes logical sense to me, and it always has made sense to me. It's kind of hard to explain. Hopefully I'm doing an okay job, but...
You explained it really well, and you explained it when you talked about the vibrational changes you experience in your body as a result of eating vegetarian and then going vegan, and then listening to the plants. You automatically were starting to hear the plants inadvertently, which is the part of connecting that physical body with your spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
I think you explained it really well, actually.
Thanks.
I was gonna say, I feel like energy is spirit, and spirit is energy. So I
Right.
feel like when people are like, oh, I don't believe in that stuff, I'm like, well, you can sense when you have low energy, and you can sense your high energy. So like, you have spirit. So when people just say energy, I'm like, yeah, that's spirit. And even if they say they don't believe it, I'm like, it's spirit. It doesn't matter. It's the same word to me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Breath.
So we can still go on neutralizing the donut and say yes.
Technically, you could. Yeah, I was actually going to mention something like that because technically you could. You can put energy into food, and you kind of can neutralize it. I wouldn't say eat donuts all the time, but yeah,
All the time.
yeah.
Everybody pick their favorite food to eat for the next 2 weeks, neutralize it and see what happens.
It doesn't work. I tried. Freaking Garrett told me neutralize it. I was like,
I feel that it's like your spirit can only handle so much of what is being ingested into the temple, right? Your house. It's just like, I'll only take what only my spirit can handle. Because like alcohol, that's a spirit. So everything has some kind of vibration behind it, right? How do you feel about that kind of like?
Like as far as vibrations go?
Yeah, like the foods, like what is
Oh, yeah.
fruit, what is vegetable, what's the difference, the frequency between the fruit and the vegetable?
I'm not claiming to be an expert on this, but
Well, your perspective.
in my opinion, I feel like because fruits and vegetables are so high in water, water carries frequency, which is why they're so high vibration. And if you go on like a fast with just fruits and vegetables, you're like way up here. Like you might feel even high. You have all these emotions coming out. It's really interesting if you've ever done it. And when you eat,
Even when you fast.
definitely when you fast, yeah. Just because not everyone can do that, so I just say fruits and vegetables. Yeah.
When you did ceremony, you fasted like 2 or 3 days
Just
before
eat
you
vegetables.
even started anything, just to clear your mind and body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's required from their council.
That's a spiritual thing, you would say. And you-
I don't think it's a requirement. Have you seen any of the men that go into the kiva, their big old bellies?
That's how they get seconds and thirds.
Fast, they're lying to me, you know?
I wasn't
Because-
being disrespectful, I was being kind of, how do you say?
Oh yeah, I forgot I actually brought a couple tinctures if anybody wanted to try them. When I was taking this herbalism course, my teacher would pass them around, and you can just like put them like on your hand and just kind of get it off of your hand if anybody wants to try them. I brought a hops and a lemon balm. I'll just like kind of, they're both good for like stress and anxiety.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm having
mine got jacked.
Or if you have a drink, you could put it in a drink too.
What is that?
So that one's lemon balm. I think that one's hops. They do have alcohol in them.
Yeah, so they're calming, right?
Yeah, so they're really good for stress and anxiety. Hops is really good for digestion, and I use it a lot for sleep because it's the most effective herb I've found to help me sleep. And lemon balm it's just safe for everybody, and it's really relaxing.
Lemon balm is wonderful. If you
Yeah.
eat it, my mom it's like taken over 5 in the yard. She could.
They're related to mints.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Same one.
Thank you for your class.
Mm-hmm. No problem. Thanks for coming.
How are you, beautiful, lovely, amazing humans? Mucho love.
Oh, this, I remember this. This, I remember it.
Is this
What
the
is
same
it for
stuff that
again?
beer hops?
This, I remember.
Yeah, beer hops is made from the actual hops plant. Although I don't recommend drinking beer, but
Isn't it like a bitter?
it is. Yeah, that's why it's really good for digestion.
See, when people talk about German bitters, they don't understand what that is, but that's what it was for.
Yep.
All right.
So it has what?
Later.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like you're really happy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
On your tinctures in all the elements of it, is it true if it's greasable or soluble, it's oil based? And if it's that, it's on the exterior. And then if it's alcohol, it's tincture for the tongue. Huh? Or no?
I guess it really just depends. You mean like if something's like slimy or a demulcent?
Like this one specifically, does it go like in the mouth or topically?
Oh, this one goes internally. Yeah. I mean, technically you can use tinctures topically, but there's alcohol in them, so you have to kind of be careful with that because it might burn if you have like a cut or something. But technically you could, but this isn't really good for topical
Is
stuff.
alcohol bad for burning? I thought it was okay.
Isn't that what we're doing with our stupid?
Well, yeah, technically technically you can clean with it.
Alcohol, yeah, because that's pretty much like what
we're doing. We're
70% alcohol in our little cleaner wash, and that's the reason why those people are going blind.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the reason I
Which
can't
people
handle
are
that
blind?
stuff. It affects me.
They're going blind? Yeah, because people are making it with wood alcohol instead of grain alcohol, and that's the stuff that makes people blind.
Yeah.
And will, if you ingest enough, it will kill you.
I've also seen them do
Yikes.
this and put on their face. I'm like,
Oh god.
Oh my gosh.
No, so a father and a daughter died on the reservation because
Because
they were
They were drinking the sanitizer.
just.
I saw that on the news, online at least. I'm like, how?
Well, when you can't buy alcohol on Sunday at some.
No, they listened to the
President
president.
said to do
He
that.
was messing around with everybody because he's a damn
But no,
Gemini,
but they used
and
to
he
do
took it seriously.
And then they take that out of the speech and put it as like one
Telling them, why don't you
statement.
ingest sanitizer?
No,
They say, but
He was saying, don't go out and fucking drink, is what he said, and people took it out of context. I mean, they did Aquanet on the list. I knew my home at my friends.
Oh, yeah.
We did it when we rode our motorcycles.
Everything with alcohol, Listerine, they would drink anything with
Check
alcohol.
the blue ocean water and all.
Yikes.
Sorry.
But it's true.
Some true shit.
Well, it's been about, we're at 53 minutes. I did have a meditation plan too,
Go.
if we want to do that.
You can say,
Can we say bye?
Tell them bye.
tell them
Bye.
bye-bye, thank you.